Iga, like when she makes the final, she rarely loses, right? So they're getting stopped a couple times early. They're still playing great. They're still, the best couple players in the world, obviously. But do you need that reset sometimes where it's like, okay, I have to progress, or is this, potentially damaging? Did it get in your head at all if you kind of were used to make basically to like win or bust at their level? It cause for concern or no?
I mean, I think it's all on like the focus that you put on it. I think there's a big difference, I think, between the two. If you see a Sabalenka and Iga, I feel like with Iga, it's like every tournament is like, okay, I have to win this. Like I feel like with Sabalenka, she believes it. I think beating Madison in the semis was already, kind of, she felt like she was able to take revenge a little bit. But with Iga, I feel like it's such a must, and you feel it in her in her tension, like when she's walking out there and seeing her, in Indian Wells, like in the players area, like there's like a tension that is very, very, not even gonna say tight, but it's like there's, not a lot of room for anything else than tennis.
Yeah.
Which can at times, when things don't go your way,
Yeah. As someone who runs pretty high strung, like I see the way that she kind of goes about it, and it's interesting. And I think there's this world in sports and probably just life really is, I think our biggest strengths can sometimes also become our biggest weaknesses simultaneously. Like I've talked about Iga's discipline. Like I never think for a second she's going to wake up and give kind of an average, not thoughtful attempt at a day, right? To the point where maybe it's like, okay, maybe just go to dinner and have some shits and giggles for like 2 hours, right?
Yeah. So I feel like that with her.
But her biggest strength is this thing, and now it's like you can run too hot, so it's like this tightrope walk.
And Justine was a little bit like that back in the day too, I think, like where it was tennis, and and she reminds me a little bit of Justine too when she's out there playing. Like I feel like there's
style-wise or just personality-wise.
Yeah, I think personality-wise, the focus, like the look at times, like I see some similarities.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Maybe it's with the hat or, but you feel the tension there, and the longer you have that in you, like in your system, I feel like it's going to become, it can turn into something negative, right? If you win and it's great, you can relax a little bit when you win, but if you lose or she hasn't won a big title, then that tension builds up. And like you're constantly looking, it's like, okay, the next week I got to do it this week, I got to do it this, and it doesn't happen. Okay, let's go. We got to work harder. I don't think she'll take a break from tennis because she needs to kind of relax a little bit. Like, I don't think she's that kind of.
Yeah, I was giving her credit last fall for pulling out of events and like kind of having the long view. And I now know it was because of the positive test for which she's been cleared completely and totally since then. But Sophie, run us through real quick, like the for those audio listeners, like she angrily hit a ball and it almost hit a ball kid, right? Is that kind of the
during her
lazy
match
version of it?
Against Andreeva, the ball kid was feeding her balls. One that he fed to her, she slammed down towards her box, or what it looked like. Different angles. Some say like she slammed it towards him. Some people say no, she was angry slamming it towards her box. The ball kid did flinch.
Also, sometimes you just slam it. Like there's, you don't aim it. You just kind of.
Which I don't think she necessarily was aiming it, but like there was a person in front of her, kind of to her left. He flinched. And then for a while, people were saying like it was a pretty 50-50 split of like players do this, they get frustrated. She slammed it towards her box out of frustration during this match with Andreeva. Some people were saying she hit it towards this kid. She should have known better. Like it was pretty a 50-50 split until today. She released this sort of like 10 slide explanation apology on Instagram that gave both more insight into the incident and also like kind of left a lot of questions of like, okay, yeah, you apologized. The first slide was her saying, I'm not proud of this. She also said, I wasn't expecting this sort of negative reaction towards what happened. And then she kind of went into what she's been dealing with the past few months with her doping ban, and it all sort of tied together into what to me read like, yes, I'm sorry, but also I've been going through a lot. Therefore, you should forgive me.
Am I am I oversimplifying this where we all do petulant, maybe not you, but the rest of us do petulant stuff on the court where we break stuff. We do stuff would it have been as easy for Iga instead of this 10-page explanation where now you're re-inviting the conversation about the doping ban back in or qualifying behavior that was like, okay, you smacked a ball, you almost hit a ball kid, you got lucky you didn't. And it's petulant behavior, right? Like, it's just like, I lived in it, but also, I also knew that if I went in there and they go, Andy, you acted like a brat. And I go, you know what? You're right. I acted like a brat and probably won't be the last time, but I'm working on it. That's the end of the conversation, right? I think like this to Sophie's point, I was writing the show on the way over and she was kind of reading it, out loud, at least the highlights. And I had 6 more questions after I read it. And now I'm more curious before I was like, all right, everyone calm down. Iga, I would have said, hey, to the ball kid, can someone find that ball kid? Can I apologize in person? Give him a racket, sign it. He's good with me. Hopefully the rest of y'all are too. I fucked up today. That's it. It's over. I mean now it's. I
have a lot of questions. I didn't read the statement, so I definitely want to, wonder where that's all coming from. And
it was basically like, you've made mistakes too. You're overreacting. I can't make mistakes when I don't do this stuff. You call me.
But there's a difference.
You call me robotic.
You hitting your racket, or like hitting that on the ground, or something like that. Whereas like when the ball girl or ball boy like throws the ball at you, it made it look like, oh, you didn't. Like, players get like that. Like, oh, you didn't throw it right where I needed to be. Or like some players get like that. And to me, that is a little bit like these ball kids, they're there, like they're helping you, right? Like don't work it out on
like
the kids. That to me, like slam your racket if you're mad. Go to your bench when you like during a changeover, like, the ball kids, I feel like they need to be left alone.
I think what bothers me about it, right, and like this is a paraphrase here, but she's like, like you guys said, I'm called a robot, my attitude labeled as inhuman. Now that I'm more expressive, showing feelings, or struggling internally, I'm suddenly labeled immature.
No, that's
or
not
hysterical.
what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not like, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't, we've been, Kim and I both, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I've been a pretty big defender when the doping ban came out. I'm like, listen, it's melatonin, folks. And it was, on the way from Paris, listen, I don't view her as a cheater based on what came out. So I've been a defender. So I can simultaneously think that and say, there's almost too much thought being put into this. My bad. I fucked up. I understand why everyone's upset. Let's get past it.
But I do think we can say, okay, like that melatonin thing, but a lot of people still see it as like,
totally.
She tested. And I think that does kind of leave a little bit of in your system, right? Like wherever you go, like maybe women are a little bit more prone to maybe like worrying about that or like thinking, oh, what are the people thinking of me? Or what are they, do they see me as
Can Serena hear me breathing on those switchovers?
Do they think I'm really like did I take doping? And that's another stress to your system, right? That you don't need. And so the fact that she brings that up in a message for, hitting a ball, I mean, means that it's pretty deep, like an issue that is deeper than maybe what we're thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it could have been that she could have released a message like that. I've been really struggling for the last X amount of months, totally separate from why did I have to wait until this incident happened? It just kind of felt like a bid for sympathy when they could have been, they're 2 totally separate stories. That can totally be true. And I'm sure it is true. She's really struggling. That had to be really tough and is probably still really tough. And also this totally separate incident happened and needs to be a separate apology.
Right. But it just shows to me like that she does take a lot of the comments or the very it goes deep, it runs deeply.
Did you pay attention? I mean, I guess it was different because social media
we
wasn't
didn't
like
have,
crazy.
Yeah, we didn't.
But I didn't like, some journalists were like, you acted like an asshat. And I'm like, yeah, you are an asshat. And then that was that. And we both went home and I didn't really think about it again. But is that like...
I mean, people used to ask me like, do you think you're too nice to win a Grand Slam? I was like, you should hear what goes on in my
you
head.
don't know what I'm thinking about you right now. Yeah.
So, but like when you hear that over and over again, like after a while, like I was like, can I do it? So you do think
she's brought in like it's interesting because they're not the same circumstances, right? But Carlos will get asked more about feeling strange because of how honest he was. and Iga will be asked more about this incident. And she then almost like reinvited the conversation from the last 6 months by spending 10 pages on it. And that's maybe unfair, but I don't know. Like, I would just be like, hey, I think less is more here. Just own it and kind of be done with it. But I mean,
Kim, a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go. No, go.
A question I asked Andy on the way over here. Like, when I look at these social media apologies, like my social media brain goes like, okay, well, how would I have edited that, or how would I have done that differently? And like, are these players hiring PR? Like, do you think she ran that apology by anyone and was like, hey, do you think this is gonna read well on social media? Obviously, all of your apologies should be genuine, but I feel like if I were her, I would have run that by someone to be like, hey, is this gonna read the way that I'm intending it to? And to me, it just kind of didn't. Like, do you have someone who's reading your stuff? Like, I would love to rewrite that apology and send it back out.
I'm from the dinosaur age. I
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about releasing a post or, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you should, right? But
I never did.
But it seems like your stance is that, like, yeah, own it. If someone says you did this wrong, you're like, yeah, I did this wrong.
I was
Now
happy
what?
saying anything, if as long, like I've had this conversation before with team sport athletes where I would have probably been a lot less outspoken about anything if my teammates would have had to answer for my commentary, right? If I was the quarterback of a team and I say something that's a little opinionated, it would have literally caused me so much stress that the person blocking for me all of a sudden has to, answer to my stupid comments. But I don't know if I was happy with like the inflow, but I was never actually surprised. If I said something, if I said something and I normally knew whether it was going to be, a polarizing subject or not, if I said something, I wouldn't act shocked when people responded to it. Like, I think that's a weird thing to say. I want to be honest. I want to say all this stuff, but then also I'd like not to be asked about it in the future. Like, I don't know that those live, the give and take is a give and take that I think sometimes as athletes, you're like, okay, I want to say everything I want to say, but I also don't want to answer questions about what I have to say, which is, I don't think that's realistic.